Hiya gets ready for the hunt. Here's your look at the Hiya toys. This is the Predator 2 Exquisite Mini Stalker Predator. Exquisite Mini is a new standard setting series for 1/18th scale, featuring super articulation action figures under Hiya toys. Now, before we get a closer look at the Stalker Predator, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how tall the figure stands. While I'm doing this, I'd like to send out a big thank you to the folks over at Hiya Toys who were nice enough to send a couple of Predator figures my way that we're going to be looking at in some upcoming video reviews. Stay tuned for that. In the meantime, though, the Stalker Predator stands at 4.4 inches, so your standard 3 3/4 inch tall figure, give or take. And then that in centimeters works out to be 11.3, so almost 11.5 centimeters tall. Let's look at the accessories that come included with the Stalker Predator. The first thing we'll have a look at is the standard stand, at least shape-wise it is, standard stand to some of the other Hiya releases that we've gotten in the past. With the Predators, they seem to stick to this more muddy terrain. Whereas then the alien ones that we've looked at before, I just happen to have one here, Yonder, how old are you? We have this one right here from one of the alien figures in the past. You can see, yes, they are exactly the same shape, though the detailing couldn't be any bit more different from one another. They also still share the same, that's a lot of S's, I just realized that now, the same placement of peg holes or pegs. They're in the same place, the same row, if you will. Like I said, just the texturing's been done differently between them. One other thing that comes included with these is these eye brackets. Probably wondering yourself what they're for. Well, let me just sort this troublesome time out for you. You just connect the two underneath or put these two here. You can put them here if you wanted to, or on the other side as well. And then you just take the other display stand. For the purpose of this example, I'm just using an alien one. Pardon me though. And you're just going to line the two up and snap them into place. Just like that, and just like that. With that in place, these aren't going anywhere. And from that, you can also expand these out as far as your heart, your mind, and your resources are available. You can make a very large diorama if you wanted to. It doesn't have to mean necessarily that you have to stick to the same terrain. In your imagination, your world, you can do whatever you want. If you want to go this route with the more graded flooring, by all means do that. You don't have to stick to this one. But the Predator nonetheless does come included with this. I do find, I'm just going to very carefully pull that off. I find these eye brackets, if you don't store them away, I've got them in like a little baggie in my collection. If you're not careful, these are very easy to lose. I mean, to be fair though, the display stand is not certainly something that's going to be losable, but some of the other things that come included with the figure most definitely will. For example, he does come included with a smart disc. Done and painted here in a very nice metallic gold. It's not even completely gold either. You can see there is almost an additional black wash that's been added in only one section of the smart disc. We spin it around, and it's got some really nice detailing done to it. Again, for a piece so small and most likely to be lost. He does also come included with a hand suited for holding the smart disc. It's not the easiest thing to get in place, mind you. You have to kind of take the hands. I knew I just dropped the disc. Hold on 1 second. Whew. That's one of those things that if you don't pick it up right away, you ever have that happen? If you don't pick it up right away, you know you're going to be losing it. You're never going to find it again. As I was saying though, the fingers do fit inside the smart disc, not completely around, mind you, at least not to the point where you can get a thumb actually wedged in there. But it does at least hold the smart disc. One of those hands at least does. The Stalker Predator also comes included with a spear. Some of these things have made several appearances through the various different Predators figures that we've looked at in the past. I'm okay with the fact that we do get more of these. Again, things like smart discs can be lost just like that, as it was clearly the case just not too long ago. But the spear itself looks like it doesn't really have much in the way of additional paint to it. Instead, it's really relying just on the chestnut brown plastic that they molded the spear from. It's a little on the large, thicker side. You can fit it into the hand of the Predator, though it's a little on the tight side. I'm just going to bend the elbow. You can open up. You may have to pry the fingers away from the palm slightly to get the predator to actually hold it. Sometimes due to the process of doing all the stuff I just mentioned, sometimes the hands do pop out. Well, you can see there he is holding the spear in his hand. Looking very cool. Other accessories. Well, we already discussed the hands. We looked at this hand right here that came included for the smart disc. He does also have just this other hand, which I guess really is the more suited hand for the smart disc because the fingers are a little bit more closer together. You see I'm holding my hand underneath it just in case. So he does have that as well. One neat accessory that I haven't seen too frequently be released with a Predator figure is this skull here. Now, I'm trying my best and researched as best as I could to try to pinpoint what kind of skull this is. It does certainly look very much like a Predator, at least in the sense that it's got the little tusk bones on either side. Maybe it is a Predator dog, like a Predator beast, for example, and this is simply just the removed head from it. I mean, it's certainly a very intricate-looking, detailed skull. It's got some nice additional washing of a dark, not quite brown, not quite beige, but it's kind of like a coloring in between that. Again, fully sculpted all the way around, fully realized all the way around. It's a really nice little accompanying piece to an already, like I said, very interesting Predator to start off with. We're going to put those all to the side. Pray, oh, please don't let me lose those. Whatever I do, don't lose it, don't lose it. Okay, so let's have a look at the Stalker Predator. A really nice designed figure from Hiya Toys. This is taking essentially more of the basic elements of a Predator and changing up the designs slightly to give us a brand new figure. What we actually get here is a really interesting looking helmet. It, for some reason, reminds me of a thorax of an insect. It's very long and stretches across the full length of the head here. And the interesting thing about it is it's got this kind of rusted brown that's been added to it. It's really neat the way that they've done that. It's an interesting looking, like I said, helmet, being the fact that so much of it stretches across the 6 head. You see what I did right there of the Predator. I mean, it still has notable Predator features to it, but having that additional rusting paint added along the top is really, again, a nice touch to the figure. Of course, he's got his braids, of course, his dreadlocks there featured on the back, made of a softer plastic. There's a little bit of wiggle room to it. Yeah, the arm does pop off frequently on this particular figure. Really, still, despite for the fact that he does have the dreadlocks, sitting down as far as he does, you can still move the head quite easily, back and forth, up and down, and all that stuff. He's got a very intricate looking necklace. I have not seen this one before. It does have some bones on either side. I've seen bones certainly before on a Predator figure, but I haven't seen like this middle medallion before. It's got a similar color scheme certainly to the helmet, just a little bit smaller in presentation. The meshing done across the chest is still a familiar sight for the Predator figures. Again, there's the back of it right there. I guess I probably should excuse myself 1 second. Let me go ahead and retrieve that arm, and then we'll come back and look at the rest of the figure. Certainly would be a little weird for me to continue the rest of this review with an arm missing from the figure. While this arm isn't so much an issue, I find this arm pops off a little too frequently. As you can see, it's simply just attached in place by a peg, and there's a little peg hole in the bottom there. Maybe I can add a little bit more of extra pressure. I could essentially just glue it in place if I wanted to. It's not like it's forfeiting any bit of the articulation. You still get the full articulation happening in the hand, so maybe I just might end up doing that. As I said, again, I just don't want that arm to keep falling off for me. Detailing done to the Predator is very insect-like. Again, when I'm looking at the areas of the belt, for example, you get that dark coloring happening that still was present in the helmet. There is a section there on the side. Let's go ahead and grab that right now, where the smart disc can fit in place. Just wedges in there. I know I'm just going to drop it again, but it does actually sit in there. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you just have to reason with it. Just still stay in there. Don't fall off. Don't go on the floor. Don't go misplaced where this guy's never going to find you. He's got the sash going down the side. Let me just move the arm out of the way so you guys can see it. Nice job done there. I suppose you could remove this if you wanted to, just pop the head off, or if you could navigate it around the head sculpt, just take this off completely if you wanted to. But the coloring actually is quite nice on this guy. It really does remind me, very insect-like, very bee-like actually, with the colorings of the honey yellow added to the torso piece, and really to all the area limbs and legs on this particular Predator. And there's the undersculpting of the feet. I always like the fact that they don't give these guys just unfinished flat feet. Of course, it does cause some problem for the figures to stand, but then again, if you are making use of these display stands, which are obviously included for that reasoning, you shouldn't have too many issues with the figures falling over. Let's have a look at this guy's articulation. His head rotates back and forth, making sure that the arm doesn't pop off again. Technically, you could rotate it all the way around if you wanted to. You just got to be careful of that necklace. The head moves up, the head moves down. The head moves right, the head moves left. A lot of times while you are doing this, like it just happened right now, for example, that the head pops off the ball joint. The good thing about at least the way that these things are constructed, Hiya Toys basically just ball joints a lot of their figures together. So like if the head comes off, for example, it's simply just a case of popping that back in place. The hand that was a problem earlier, I just simply pegged back into place. No real issues whatsoever. I mean, like I said, things popping off, I'd rather things pop off and me be able to put them back in place than having them be broken and be something that I would have to glue in place. Popping back in place, I would rather go that route. The arms move out to about a 45-degree angle. You can't really get them any further higher or further out from that. And then the arms rotate all the way around. So just be careful of the forearm coming off. The elbow bends. You can also rotate the figures at the bicep, and you can rotate the hands all the way around. For the upper torso, of course, you've got the ball joint going in your favor. This guy doesn't seem to have waist articulation. Which, I mean, really, when it's all said and done, does he necessarily need waist articulation? I think no. I mean, that's just me. But like I said, he does have posability in the upper torso. Legs split out quite nicely, forward and back on the legs, a swivel on the 3/4 cut of the thigh, double hinge on the knee, rotation slightly in the foot, back and forth. I keep thinking that this section rotates, but I don't think it actually does. It's just more... If it does, it's just really tight for me, and I'm not going to push that any further than I have to. The feet also do rotate back and forth. You can hinge them up and down. There's a little bit of an ankle pivot, not much though. As I said, I mean, these figures are decent looking figures. They're considered more premium than anything else. You're not finding these at local retail stores, for example. For these, you want to source out online, probably is your best bet right now. Or you can check your local comic book stores. A lot of comic book stores are stocking Hiya brand pieces as well. If you are in the market for a more premium version of a Predator, just smaller in scale and size, these ones are really certainly something you really do appreciate more so when you physically get them in hand. I mean, not only are they fairly posable figures, there are limitations, yes, in some areas to the figure itself. But the fact that you still get what I consider still a niche market of that 3 3/4 inch scale. For me, I always talk about this growing up with G.I. Joe. 3 3/4 inch was the thing for me. Star Wars collected just a little of that, but G.I. Joe really was where it was at for me. So to get smaller representations of Predator figures, they are really neat looking pieces. They're very intricately detailed, and like I said, they do have a lot of cool accessories as well, which does make having these on display, certainly with, say, for example, the shield in the spear in his hand, or in this case, a pretty interesting looking skull. I mean, when it comes to displaying him, I might actually just put the skull in front of the display stand when I'm ready to display the Stalker in my collection. Even though these Hiya Predators essentially pull from the same building blocks of the way that the figures are designed, there are certain Predators that still bring something different to the table. The Predator 2 Stalker, for example, I think what works in his favor is the fact that he does have the really rich honey colors that is incorporated to his skin and his helmet. I like the design of the helmet, and the additional rusted wash that they put across the surface of it is a nice touch and plays well to the yellows and the oranges for the rest of his body. His armor kept pretty light, actually, as well as his accessories, though he does make up for it by the inclusion of the skull, which I'm guessing is a Predator dog. That's my guess, at least. These are nice, smaller scale figures, still superposable, and have accessories to be displayed with the figure. They're certainly premium, though. These aren't things that you want to be giving to kids, especially asking for the prices that they are. These aren't something that you want to be playing around in the backyard with. These are ones that you want to be putting on display, kind of like what I'm doing here in Final Looks, and just admiring the fact there's a lot of detailing and color packed inside such a small package of in this case, the Stalker from Predator 2. If you guys managed to pick up this one for yourself, or based on this review, and this review alone, what do you guys think of the Hiya Toys Exquisite Mini Predator 2 Stalker? Again, I really like the colorings of this one. It really reminds me like I'm looking at a bee, or at least honey colors. Now I feel like I want some honey. Either way though, guys, if you are new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and stay tuned because there's going to be a whole lot of videos coming your way. We're actually going to be looking, thanks again to the folks over at Hiya Toys, we're going to be looking at a bunch of exquisite minis coming up in some upcoming reviews. So stay tuned for those. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.